Max is a former National Football League lineman. Due to his violent profession and constant helmet crashing, Max has suffered from multiple concussions that is commonplace in professional football. He has a hard time remembering everyday things and suffers from other physical effects as well. To address his ongoing problems, Max has had 9 brain surgeries. Unfortunately, Max is now unemployed, broke, and living in a trailer outside of his brother's home. He gets angry a lot and he misses his family, who is afraid of him now. Football destroys people physically from the outside in, and it is what has left Max as the ghost of the man that he is today. Max's story is told by sports writer Patrick Ruby in the July 2014 Reader's Digest magazine, and it underscores the fact that football is an incredibly fast-paced and violent sport. Hit after hit, players endure inhumane contact levels that really start to take a toll on their bodies and brains. Unfortunately, Max's case is not an isolated one. According to the American Association of Neurological Surgeons, amateur and professional football resulted in 46,978 cases of head injury in 2009. They go on to report that for kids 14 and under, the number of head cases were 21,868. Accidents and injuries are an unavoidable aspect of football that have compelled many to try and find a way to lessen the damage to players' brains. Short of banning the sport altogether, which isn't feasible given the sport's widespread popularity, there seems no way to reduce these high-velocity impacts. That is, until neuroscientist Raymond Colello of Virginia Commonwealth University, inspired by the magnets holding his children's artwork to the refrigerator, wondered if the power of those magnets could be used to lessen those of these impacts. According to a November 15, 2014 Science News article, Colello is currently in the process of designing and experimenting a magnetic helmet that may do just that. These magnetic helmets have the significance to potentially reduce the number of brain injury in professional and amateur football. In order to understand the significance of these helmets, we will first establish an understanding of how concussions relate from football. Second, explore how Colello's magnets would work to reduce those impacts. And finally, isolate some implications of an idea that Judy Cameron, neuroscientist at the University of Pittsburgh, refers to in the Science News article as extremely promising. To begin, it's important that we understand the injuries that these helmets are designed to prevent and how they are caused. Concussions are a major problem with every hard-hitting sport. As of May 29, 2014, the Center for Disease Control, found at cdc.gov, defines a concussion as a traumatic brain injury caused by a bump, blow, or jolt to the head that can change the way your brain normally works. The brain floats within a cerebral fluid within the skull to cushion certain bumps and blows. When struck by a powerful force, the brain will hit the front of the cranial skull as well as the back, resulting in bruising. Other than the initial and primary effects, what doctors really need to pay attention to is the secondary injuries that can have long-term effects. The real culprit in a concussion are the G-forces generated by an impact that is too strong for the cushioning fluid in the brain to absorb. G-force is the force acting on a body as a result of acceleration or gravity, informally described in units of acceleration equal to 1g. Kate Bagley in the November 15th Science News article reports that concussions can happen at anything over 100 Gs of force. Football players on the field can reach speeds of nearly 20 miles per hour and can experience 150 Gs of force on impact. That's well over the concussion limit. Traditional helmets help to cushion the brain a bit more, but it's still not enough to prevent these injuries, and these injuries we now know can have lasting and troubling effects. According to an article from February 4, 2015 on PsychCentral.com and written by Tracy Pedersen and taken from the journal Neurobiology of Disease, a specialist team at Johns Hopkins is currently being formed and is in the process of conducting a study of retired NFL players and the accumulated brain damage that they endure. They found that the related brain damage from players could be related to certain memory deficits decades after playing. Now that we understand how brain injuries result from G-forces experienced in football, let's explore how the concept of magnet helmets might work to reduce them. To put it simply, magnets and helmets might put the brakes on those on-field impacts and as a result reduce the G-forces produced. Just like when you were a kid, you take the kitchen magnets off the fridge and wonder why it was hard to make the two touch. Colello's idea in the aforementioned Science News article is to take those helmets and place them in the helmets of both teams with the poles face to face and repel against each other. Now, this wouldn't stop the collision altogether, but it would slow it down exponentially. Colello is currently in the process of furthering experiments. So far, he has placed the magnets in the helmets, which, when face to face, exert over 100 pounds of repulsive force. The magnets, made in China composed of neodymium, weigh approximately 1/3 of a pound. In one of Colello's experiments, he took the helmets and dropped them from various heights ranging from 4 inches to 6 feet. Colello said, if you drop the standard helmet and it hit a stationary object, it would create 120 Gs of force. With the magnets, we dropped that below 100 Gs. Magnets in the helmets would decrease the number of concussions greatly. The overall design of the helmets wouldn't change all that much. Colello is currently waiting on a specific arc-shaped magnet to better fit into the helmets, and he feels that the magnetic enhancements would likely raise the price of the helmets somewhere between $50 to $100. Now that we have an understanding of how brain damage results from football and how magnetic helmets might literally put the brakes on those on-field impacts, we are ready to consider some implications of this innovative idea. Implications are both negative and positive. Negative implications include the unknown risk of magnets and the enabling of a violent sport. To begin, while magnets and helmets might slow down impacts, they might also bring other dangers of having that close to the brain for that long. With magnets this strong, placed this close to the brain, there are unknown side effects just unknown to us. In a November 23, 2014 NPR article, Colello tells us the best way to compare would be to look at an MRI. Patients sit in these very powerful magnetic fields for up to half-hour periods, 10 to 30 times those of that in these helmets. If this could be a problem, players would be required to take off helmets on the field, giving them time for plenty of rest in between. Another negative implication is the enabling of a violent sport. Football disparages simply feel that they treat the symptom of a problem whose ultimate solution is the banning of a high-impact sport like football together. Opponents of football could argue that these helmets provide football enthusiasts with justification for the fact that their sport can be made safer, when in reality it is simply perpetuating a modern-day style gladiator activity. They argue that football is just too violent of a sport and that these helmets will only encourage harder hits. In addition to the negative implications, there are two positive implications as well. The potential to reduce brain injury and the application of this technology to other sports. These ingenious helmets are a way to allow parents of the players to sleep a little bit better at night. With these helmets, we can cut the amount of concussions by 80%, and it doesn't even have to stop with football. Thanks to these helmets, we can apply these to a multitude of sports: hockey, rugby, lacrosse, making all these rough sports a little less rough on the brain. Even though this helmet is just starting out, it seems to be a certainly impressive and innovative way to improve a violent sport that has been violent since its creation. Colello's helmet could take the numbers of head injury and cut those drastically. If everything goes as it should and tests prove the helmet to be safe, Colello's magnetic helmets could be a nice and innovative solution to today's concussion problem. Concussions change people like Max from being the happily married man, full of love and laughter and happiness, to being the sad, lonely, and depressed man that he is today. While it's too late for former players like Max, perhaps Colello's magnetic helmets could ensure that future players do not have to suffer the same fate.